So freezing beets is a great way to preserve them for winter eating. Now we use frozen beets for stir fries, steaming, and they're really great in soups. So in 6 easy steps you can make frozen beets to eat this winter. So today I'd like to show you how we freeze beets for our winter dinners. All right, so number one is we start with a large pot. It's half full of water, and we're going to get that up to a boil because we are going to be blanching our beets. All right, next is you want to wash your beets. Now, some of my beets, I will put it in the root cellar and we'll eat them from the root cellar. But some of these, like these little guys, they don't store well. They're going to get really soft on me. So I want to go ahead and preserve these by freezing so that I can eat these later after my storage beets. And then some beets are really big, and like this one's got a damaged spot in it. And so I don't want to put this in my root cellar because that could rot and mess up the whole batch. So this one is also a candidate for freezing. What I did is I went ahead and washed these, and then I'm going to leave the skins on because that's where a lot of the nutrients is, and we're just going to eat them with the skins on. So I'm going to cut off anything I don't want to eat, and then I'm going to coin these beets so that they are in slices. And then the big beet, I'll take the root off of that, the top off of this. And I want to get my beet cut down to the size of pieces that I want to put in the freezer. I'm going to cut that bad spot out. Now you can peel your beets if you don't want the skin on it, or when the beets come out of the hot water, if you boil them long enough, the skin will slip off. But I want to eat the skin because, like I said, that's where a lot of the nutrient is. So I'm just going to cut these down. I'm going to cut that one in two again. So what I'm doing is just looking for similar size. So everything's about 1/4 inch in width. That way when we blanch, it'll all cook the same. So it'll get blanched all the way through. So I'm just going to sit here and get a bunch of beets cut up. And then we're going to head to the hot water. All right, so we got our water boiling and we got our beets cut. They're all cut down into very similar size. Now, if you don't want to get boiling water splashed up on your arms, take your bowl and put it down almost right into the water. Shake that out, and that keeps it from splashing up on your arms. Then we'll just put the lid on. We want to boil this for at least a minute. Now, if you want to try to slip the skins off, you're going to be boiling about 5, maybe 10 minutes. It's not going to hurt the beets. They are very hard, and they will not get super soft until you've boiled them about 20, maybe 30 minutes. So it's fine to do that. All right, our beets are boiling, and if I'm going to leave the skins on and not worry about the skins, I only need to boil for about a minute. Now, the reason that I need to boil or blanch the beets is to kill the enzymes. So the enzymes are in there ripening the roots, and what we want to do is we want to stop that ripening process so that they don't get really weird in the freezer. They can get off flavor and they can get weird mushy, so we don't want to do that. So what we do is we blanch them, that kills the enzymes, and then we go from the boiling water to the cold water. We put cold water in the sink. And what that does is that stops the cooking action. So we stop the enzymes, and then we're going to stop the cooking action, and then they'll be ready to go in the freezer. So if you would like to get more recipes for preserving fruits and vegetables, you can find our fruits and vegetables guide. You find it on our website at thelivingfarm.org/high-performance-garden-show. Once you get to that page, go ahead and scroll down. You can find the sponsor section, and then you can get your ebook there. I'll also put a link in the description below so you can find the webpage. All right, now that we have boiled these for about a minute, I want to pull them out. I have my strainer, and we cut the little loop off. It came with a loop so you could hang it. So we cut that off so I can just scoop down in here and pull up my beets and put them in my bowl so I can head to the sink to stop the cooking action. The reason that I want to strain this out instead of dump the water is if I want to do batch after batch after batch, I can just use that same boiling water over and over again. So that if I just use the strainer, I don't waste my hot water. All right, I got my sink half full of cold water, and I'm just going to dump my beets in there, and we're just going to leave them in there for a few minutes until they cool down, and then we're going to pull them out and put them in our strainer. Now, here in the Rocky Mountains, our tap water runs 38 to 40 degrees, and so this is nice cold water. If your tap water is warm, then go ahead and put some ice in this, because you want this water down around 40 degrees Fahrenheit to cool down your vegetable. All right, the vegetables, the beets are cool to the touch now, so I'm just going to pull up the drain. We're going to let that drain out. Now, if you're in a bowl or a bucket or something, you don't have a drain in the bottom, you can just put it in your strainer, and you can just let it drip there. We want to get as much water off of it as we can before we put these in the freezer. All right, so step number 6 is to go ahead and put our beets into a container. So you can do a hard-sided container like this, and you can fill that with the beets, put the lid on it, label it, and then these can stack in the freezer, which is really nice because you can stack them up. The only problem with this is you can see there's just a lot of space, and that's where you will have air, and the air can freezer burn your vegetables, make them taste bad. If you store them this way, you got maybe about 4 months of storage before they start to get a little funky. The next choice is a freezer bag, and you can just take your beets and put them in a freezer bag. Everything is turning pink. Everything I touch is pink. It's amazing. How does the pink get in the beets? I didn't see it in the dirt. I can plant carrots in the same dirt, and the carrots don't turn purple. It just amazes me, these plants, how they can do that. So, a mystery for us to solve another day. All right, so I'm going to take this bag. I'm going to zip that shut and get out as much air as I can. I want to go ahead and label this and put the year on it so that I know what year I put this in the freezer. And this will last about 6 months if you do it this way. Now, if you're wanting long-term storage, go into a vacuum seal bag. So you're just going to take your beets, you're going to put them in the vacuum seal bag and get them vacuum sealed. At this point, they can last up to a year if you want. I actually had a broccoli that I found in the freezer. It was 12 years old, and it's like, I gotta get this out of the freezer. And it's like, I'm either gonna feed it to the chickens or I'm gonna eat it. I opened it up, it was very fresh. It was delicious, we ate it. So the vacuum seal on that one, it was still good. So 12 years later, we were eating broccoli. I'm gonna pop over to the vacuum sealer and seal this shut. All right, so this is vacuum sealed, it's very firm, all the air is out. I get a good long storage out of this. Now, there's one other way that you can do this. If you only want a few bites of beet, you can take your beets from this stage, you can lay them out on a cookie sheet, you can freeze them in the cookie sheet, and then you can take those individual pieces and put them in your bag like this, and then they won't be stuck together, and you can have, a couple of slices of beets at a time. For me, I want a whole batch, so this or this would be a whole batch for our family. So I don't need to go to the extra step of putting them on the cookie sheet and freezing them individually. I can just go right to this stage here.